Right. Welcome to this explainer on Ireland's eroding social contract. We're not going to linger here, though, because the numbers really do speak for themselves. Let's get straight into it. Just look at the sheer scale of the divergence we're seeing right now. On one hand, public anger online has absolutely shot up. You see it everywhere, across social media, in the comments. You can literally feel the frustration. But then look at what's happening to trust in our institutions. It is absolutely plunging. It's a total confidence collapse. Working families across Ireland are really feeling the pinch, and this data hits the nail on the head. When people are grafting day in and day out but feel like they're just sliding backwards, well, that frustration has to go somewhere, doesn't it? And right now, it's showing up as a massive drop in institutional faith. And it really all comes down to this core concept, the social contract. Think of it as the basic, unwritten deal of modern Irish society. The premise is incredibly simple, right? If you do your bit, if you get up, work hard, and pay your taxes, the state, in return, looks after the essentials. It ensures there's a fair opportunity to get a roof over your head and reliable access to healthcare if you fall ill. But the sources are highlighting that this fundamental agreement is fracturing. People feel like they're keeping up their end of the bargain, but the state is really struggling to deliver its side of the deal. Section 1. The Great Divide. Renters versus homeowners. Let's dive straight into this fracture point, which is probably the most visible crack in the foundation right now. This is the biggest wedge driving the confidence collapse across the country. It's the stark divide between those who own a home and those who are just trapped renting. On one side, you've got comfortable homeowners. For them, housing is secure, their monthly outgoings are relatively fixed, and they have a real stake in the ground. But on the flip side, working families and younger generations are facing systemic housing failures. They're paying absolute fortunes in rent, they can't save for a deposit, and they just feel stuck. It's making it a remarkably tough, arduous slog just to get by, let alone plan for a future in their own country. And the housing market has effectively split the population right in two. This isn't just an economic issue anymore, it is a profound social divide. A massive chunk of the population is effectively locked out of any real long-term stability. When you have squeezed working families pouring a huge percentage of their take-home pay into rent with absolutely no end in sight, it builds a deep structural resentment. They're doing everything right, you know? Yet the prospect of secure home ownership just keeps moving further and further out of reach. Section 2. Healthcare and the confidence collapse. Because, of course, it's not just housing causing this strain. Let's move to another absolutely critical pillar of society. The endless healthcare waiting lists are a glaring example of the state failing to uphold its end of the bargain. We're talking about everyday Irish people here, working folks, retirees, young kids, just left lingering on lists for months and sometimes even years for essential procedures. When people are at their most vulnerable, dealing with pain or illness, the stress of a system that just cannot accommodate them puts immense pressure on entire families. It's an exhausting reality, and it's really chipping away at any remaining goodwill. Which brings us to the absolute crux of the issue, perfectly captured in this short, incredibly powerful quote from our sources. Nothing gets fixed. Just 3 words, but wow, it speaks volumes. There is this growing, unshakable perception among the Irish public that despite the endless debates in the Dial, the task forces, the promises, the big structural problems remain entirely static. Whether it's finding a place to live or getting a hospital appointment, this sense of permanent gridlock breeds a deep collective exhaustion. It's that sinking feeling that the system is simply stuck in the mud. Section 3. Political distrust and public anger. So what actually happens when that exhaustion finally boils over? Looking impartially at the sources, we can map out the clear symptoms of this societal breakdown. First off, surging political distrust. People just don't believe the promises being made by politicians anymore. Second, you have massive public anger online. The digital public square has essentially become a massive sounding board for genuine, raw frustration from people who feel totally abandoned. And finally, a widespread loss of faith in institutions across the board. It's not just the government, it's the broader belief that the state apparatus itself is just no longer capable of supporting the working family. Section 4, the true cost to Ireland. So the really crucial point here is, why does all this giving out actually matter for the future of the Irish economy and society? It's a direct chain reaction. Step 1, unmet core needs. When working families can't afford a home or get access to healthcare, their foundational security is just gone. That leads directly into step 2, a total loss of trust. If the state doesn't deliver the absolute basics, people just check out mentally and civically. And the sources warn that this inevitably brings us to step 3, severe economic and social impacts. Think about it for a second. If businesses can't attract workers because there's literally nowhere for them to rent, the economy stalls. If young professionals pack up and emigrate because they see no future here, society loses its engine. A broken social contract threatens the very stability of the entire country. Which leaves us with this final, absolutely critical question to take away. If this social contract erodes completely, what happens to the Irish working family? If hard work no longer guarantees a roof over your head or a doctor when you're sick, what keeps society bound together? It's a pretty sobering thought, and it forces us to ask, can that trust between the people and the institutions ever be rebuilt before the damage becomes permanent? I'll leave you to ponder that one. Thanks a million for joining me for this explainer, and keep questioning the data.